Bulls Nation, welcome to a Chicago Bulls annual award show. And again, this is going to be the first one that I have made throughout the season, and hopefully this could be something we can see over the course of many years to come. The Chicago Bulls has had a very up and down season, but in that season we've seen some very good progression, and we've seen some very good talent come in to the Chicago Bulls. And without all that being said, we're going to discuss the year that we had. We're going to give some awards out, both positive and negative, and we're going to do it in this video. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? It's the Aidan Sports Show, and welcome back to another video. Today we've got a Chicago Bulls yearly award video, and this is going to be the first one of hopefully many to come. The Chicago Bulls, again, terrific season, up and down season I should say, terrific talent coming into this team, and overall a little bit of progression from last season to this season. However, in that being said, there is a few things that we need to talk about, and we will talk about throughout the course of this video. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel. Turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls this year in its entirety. Now, according to what I think, this video will be the last video I talk about in terms of the regular season. Of course, I will add stuff from for example, off-season videos. I'll be talking about some of regular season performances, of course. But in terms of the main Chicago Bulls season, this might be the last video that I make in terms of the end of the season. As we look more towards the off-season, we look more towards specific players coming in, specific players leaving, and all those sorts. We do have a lot to talk about there as well. Future videos will come for that. But enough about that. Let's talk about the Chicago Bulls yearly. Let's talk about the year the Chicago Bulls had. In the end, the first year under Arturius, the first year under Eversley, the first year under Billy Donovan, the first year where we brought in a whole new training staff, whole new player development staff, some very interesting players coming in the trade deadline. This has definitely been a year to experiment with the Chicago Bulls, to play around with what we could be and play around with some of the players that we have and some of the players that we've given up to get some players in. We've experimented very well with this team, and in the end, that experiment has not led us to where we want to be. Obviously, the playoffs was the main goal, I think, for many people. We did not achieve that. We did not make the playoffs, so many people can see that as a down year for the Chicago Bulls. But ultimately, in that down year, has come to a lot of experiments, has come to some very important trades I never thought in my life I would see a Chicago Bulls team make, for a player like Nikola Vucevic, for players like Daniel Tice, for even players like Troy Brown Jr. We've done some pretty good things for the Chicago Bulls, but ultimately, the question is, was it a good year? Well, in terms of competing, I would say this has been a good year. There have been many times for the Chicago Bulls where we would never be in a close situation, where we would get blown out consistently and every single game. I didn't see enough blowouts from the Chicago Bulls in terms of winning games, but I also didn't experience a lot of times the Chicago Bulls got blown out by other teams. We competed very well this season, in the first half of the season especially, with Wendell Carter, with Larry Markkinen, with obviously even Otto Porter, players like that were still on this team. With the team that we had, we were competing very well. We were up there in terms of bench production. We were up there in terms of scoring. We were up there in terms of being competitive, fourth quarter games, clutch points within the fourth quarter. We were up there in all of these stats, and we were competing very nicely against some very good teams like the Clippers, like the Lakers, even teams like Portland. Of course, you have the teams that we blew away leads to, like OKC and the Kings and the Spurs. All these teams we've competed with, we've blown leads to, and we've competed very well against some big teams as well. So again, it's been a very up and down season, but ultimately, when you look at the last season to this season, there is progression. There's progression in our wins and losses. There's obviously progression in our players. We've had Kobe White take a leap up. Obviously, Patrick Williams had a very good first year in the NBA. You have players like Nikola Vucevic on this team now, a second All-Star for Zach Levine. Zach Levine took an extra year leap up in his production. And of course, the Chicago Bulls all the way around have experienced a little bit of growth in their players, has experienced a little bit of, I guess, more of a winning mentality in a way in these players. And it's not there, it's not perfection yet. We still haven't seen the best out of these players. We still haven't seen what this team can be in the future. We still probably haven't made the right acquisitions to try and get this team to become as best as possible. And all those things will come in time. But as of this season, it's disappointing we didn't make the playoffs. It's very upsetting. In the end, I've had time to reflect on it. And again, I really think we had the team, especially in the second half of the season, to make the playoffs. And that has not changed. I still think we should have made the play-in tournament. I still think we should have been in the play-in tournament and been one of the favorites to walk out of the play-in tournament. But unfortunately, we didn't get things gelling in time, and we ended up suffering some very bad losses towards the end of the season. We missed Zach Levine for 11 games, and overall from the start to the season where we were competing, we had a semi-healthy team, and we were up and down, but we were competing with every team, to a second half of the season where we experienced a little bit of blowouts. We saw some lost leads, we saw some injuries, and we saw missed time for Zach Levine. It's a very up and down season, if I do say so myself, and that's exactly why we finished 11th, and we finished just on the verge of making the play-in tournament, but not quite getting there. And that's how I thought this season went for the Chicago Bulls. I thought we took some good steps. I thought there is a lot of positives to look forward to. Our starting lineup is going to be very, very, very positive going into next season, and the bench, in my opinion, is something that we need to work on. But again, with that being said, let's talk about the awards that we're going to give out for the Chicago Bulls. Now, there are a few new ones that I'm going to have to bring in for our new players, because I feel like some of them deserve the awards for the new players. As obviously the same three that we always give: the must improve, the sixth man of the year, I guess, for us, and the player of the year for us. And of course, all of those things will come as well. So I guess to get the negative one out of the way first, the must improve of the year, or I guess the disappointing player of the year. In this retrospect, there are a lot of people, in my opinion, especially on the bench, that is a candidate towards this award. And unfortunately, it's not because they had terrible seasons. It's just the fact that they've been very inconsistent. And there are many people that could be put into this category, even if many people might not agree. So, for example, Denzel Valentine is someone that, in my opinion, is in this category. He didn't have a terrific year this year. And again, I don't need to go into the details. I've said all I've needed to say about Denzel Valentine. However, this year has been very up and down for him. He's had a very good, sustainable period in the NBA where he was decent for the team, and then he also got some stints where he wasn't even playing, and it was very disappointing when he did play. So he's definitely part of this category. I would go as far to say Larry Marketing is part of this category as well. Tremendous upside, tremendous potential, tremendous talent, but not able to put it together consistently for this team. So he's been a little bit of a disappointment in my opinion. Obviously, you have players that, again, like the Luke Cornets, for example, even the Daniel Gafford, who's not on this team. Daniel Gafford was a very big disappointment on the Chicago Bulls. But again, I think the winner of this, and it's not really one you'd want to win. I can't really give it to a player that's not on the team anymore. So Daniel Gafford gets eliminated. Denzel Valentine, again, I think in terms of the caliber of player, it's not really too disappointing because we may have expected this. In my opinion, the disappointment of the year, and I'm not really disappointed in him. I just think that he needs to find consistency. It's going to be Larry Marketing. Again, you could give it to players like even Ryan Arcidiacono, who had his worst season for the Chicago Bulls. You could give it to anybody you like. There's going to be a reason out there to give a certain player a Disappointment of the Year award. For every single player, from Zach Levine all the way down to Cristiano Felicio, there's going to be at least one reason you could give a Disappointment of the Year award to any of those players. But in my opinion, the reason why I'm giving it to Larry Marketing, and again, I say this in terms of, I like Larry Marketing. I like what he can bring. I like his talent. I like the potential. And I do think that if we have the opportunity to re-sign him and keep him as a Bull, there's an opportunity there. If the price is right, we should be able to do that, and we need to do that, because you don't give up potential like that. You don't give up a potential like that unless it just becomes unaffordable to you. if there's an opportunity there, I think we should do that. But Lauri Markkanen has to be consistent. That's the only issue I have with Lauri Markkanen. I don't have an issue with his shot selection these days. I like the fact that he's going more into the post. I obviously like his three-point shooting. I like his pick and pop game. I like he can shoot mid-ranges. I would like to see him improve his defense, and I'd like to see him improve his vision and his decision making. And with that in time, with more experience in the NBA, those things will come around, in my opinion, for Lauri Markkanen. But the consistency of his game is something that takes him from being a solid starter to a good role player to a solid starter to that next level guy, to that level where he's worth 20 million, where he's worth 25 million, where he's worth those big contracts that multiple NBA athletes get these days. That's the level for Lauri Markkanen. That's the next step for him. And unfortunately, this season, last season, we've not seen that come together as nicely as I expected. And at the beginning of the season, I've wanted to give Lauri Markkanen a chance, and I still have, and still want to give Lauri Markkanen a chance. That hasn't changed. But to say that he's had a good season, I think he's had an up and down season. There have been some very good moments. There's been some unfortunate moments. But when it comes to gelling them together and becoming a consistent player, that's the next step for Lauri Markkanen. And if he can do that, he'll be up there as one of the best offensive power forwards in the league. He'll be up there as one of the best players in the league. But again, if we can't see that enough, if we can't see that consistency, then we will never see that version of Lauri Markkanen. So that's up to him, and hopefully he can find that consistency in his game no matter what happens to his future. He's my disappointment of the year, unfortunately. Now to bring on into a new award, the best acquisition for the Chicago Bulls this season. This goes to free agency. This also goes into the trade market for the Chicago Bulls and what we were able to do in the trade period. And again, I brought this award simply so I could give this player an award for the Chicago Bulls, because in the end, he bloody deserves it. And his name is Nikola Vucevic. By far, this is our best acquisition that we were able to do. We brought in that second All-Star. We brought in that big man that Zach Levine has always wanted to play with, and we brought someone that can be an offensive monster while also being a little bit underrated on the defensive end. Nikola Vucevic, in my opinion, is the definition, the key signing that the Chicago Bulls are going to go with in the future. This is the direction the Chicago Bulls are going in. This is the way that Artorias and Eversley and the front office have in store for us. This is what they have in store for us. This is the direction they want to go in. They want to make this team better at any means necessary. They were willing to give up our 2021 first round pick. They were willing to give up the 2023 first round pick. They were willing to give up Wendell Carter for a player like Nikola Vucevic. And in the end, I don't think that the previous front office would have done that. And Nikola Vucevic has come into this team and has absolutely thrived. He's fit in very well. And for someone that really only played 2 months of basketball for the Chicago Bulls, has really kept up his level of play. And I still think there's more to see from Nikola Vucevic. And that's why I'm giving him the best acquisition for the Chicago Bulls. Moving into the 6th Man of the Year award. Now, you could give this to a variety of people, because at many points in time, there have been many people that have come off the bench that has been progressed to the starting lineup, or people from the starting lineup that has been progressed to the bench. For example, Lauri Markkanen has started this season. He's also been benched for a lot of this season. Thaddeus Young has come off the bench for the majority of the season. He's also started a fair few games. Kobe White is in the same boat. Wendell Carter was in the same boat. Even the likes of Otto Porter. Well, I don't actually know. I think Otto Porter was on the bench for the majority of his season. So again, there are a lot of people you could give this to, but without further ado, and probably the easiest decision I have to make, my 6th Man of the Year is Thaddeus Young. I've talked about Thaddeus Young all year as being the most consistent player for the Chicago Bulls. And in the end, he, in many instances, has been our second best player besides Nikola Vucevic coming into this team. When Nikola Vucevic was not on this team, Thaddeus Young was our best player. Thaddeus Young was our facilitator, our main facilitator. Thaddeus Young was our biggest post threat, and Thaddeus Young delivered on a nightly basis. And again, without his performances, we would be nowhere near that play-in tournament. We would be where the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Detroit Pistons are at this point in time. I truly 100% in my heart believe that Thaddeus Young was a massive, big component to this team, and he did a lot of his damage off of the bench. And I'm very happy with his production. Again, I've said this multiple times, he does not look like a player that is on the verge of retirement. And I really hope going forward, he can continue this level of play, and hopefully he's doing it in a Chicago Bulls uniform, because I want to see Thaddeus Young succeed here, and I want to see him succeed in getting this team into the playoffs, which was his goal from the very beginning. He is my sixth man of the year. I don't think there's anyone that really comes close to the award, but again, if there is any, you can feel free to play along. Again, feel free to play along with all of these ones, by the way. Don't just take my word for it. If you have something to say, you have an award to give, if I don't even mention an award that you want to give out to one of your players, feel free to do so. Have some fun, and let's play along in the comments below. But moving on, the most exciting player to witness next season. And I wanted to give two players some high big recognition for this. Coby White, Patrick Williams. These two players are players that I am super excited to see what they're capable of next season. The third season for Coby White, usually third seasons are when people start to come into themselves and become the players that we expect them to be, or come to the players that they're going to be in the future. I'm very excited to see what version of Coby White we're going to see in their third season. Patrick Williams, beautiful performances in his first year. Again, there have been some issues along the way. He started 71 games for us, and he's been very durable. He's been very vibrant. He's willing to learn, and again, he has all the tools in the shed to become a fantastic player, if not one of our best players on this team. It's up to him to put that together, and those two are my joint winners for most exciting players of next season, or most exciting players to come. I'll name the title. I'll name it whenever I edit this video. I don't really know the name of it, but that's the award I'm going to give out. I'm only going to give two more awards for the Chicago Bulls in this video, because I don't want it to get too overrun in terms of the length of the video. The second last award I'm going to give is the most underrated player for the Chicago Bulls. And oh my goodness, there are many you could pick from Javonte Green, Troy Brown Jr., from even players like Coby White, Patrick Williams, even players like Daniel Tice. And again, all these are very good choices, and again, we're going to disagree on a lot of things, and I think this is the one that many people will disagree on. Many people will say Javonte Green has provided very good play, and he's very underrated. Troy Brown has been underrated his whole career, and he's only played 2 seasons. Daniel Tice has been underrated his whole career, playing for 2 teams. And in my opinion, even the likes of Coby White to be underrated. Patrick Williams is definitely underrated if you're not talking to a Chicago Bulls fan. If you talk to any other fan that is not a Bulls fan, they will say that they won't really mention Patrick Williams. So he's definitely underrated in my eyes as well. So the most underrated player that I'm going to give in terms of the award is Daniel Tice. That's my pick. There are many options, and simply I can't complain if you guys pick another option, but Daniel Tice has been underrated from Boston to Chicago. And I understand you guys might be thinking Daniel Tice is a fan favorite here. Daniel Tice has been a fan favorite since the beginning, and we value and we appreciate and we rate his performances. And what I say to that is, I feel like even on Boston, he was underrated, and I think Boston, he will always be underrated. I don't really think many people remember him in terms of being, oh wow, look at this amazing caliber of a player. He will always be underrated in Boston. For Chicago, he'll be a little bit less underrated, but he's still very underrated in my opinion. He brings so much to this team that I still think people don't understand how vital he was towards the second half of the season. Defensively, we all know what Daniel Tice can do. I think we all knew that coming into this. We all knew what type of player he was, but the responsibility on the offensive end and the ability as well on the offensive end is something that I think has been very strong for the Chicago Bulls, and it's something that I did not really see coming out of Daniel Tice. I didn't see him being a viable 3-point shooter on occasion, on certain nights. I didn't see him being a good facilitator on certain nights. I didn't see him as that type of guy, and that could be my own lack of understanding of the player. It could be my own not knowing the caliber of player that he was for Boston. All of these things. Again, I'm not watching Boston games 24/7, am I? I watch Chicago Bulls games, but that is something that, in my opinion, his offensive game and the responsibility on that side of the ball is very underrated in my opinion, and it's so underrated that he is my most underrated player of the season. And again, I have a feeling that many teams have woken up to Daniel Theis, and many teams will be looking to get Daniel Theis in free agency, and I just hope he considers us in free agency, and I hope that he will come back to this team, because again, I think there's unfinished business here, and I think it's even unfinished business with Daniel Theis as well. But again, I only want players that want to be here. If he chooses another team over us, it's simply as he doesn't want to be here, and again, I'm not going to complain if he decides to leave either, but I really hope that he does consider the Chicago Bulls going forward. And the player of the year, look, at the end of the day, Nikola Vucevic has been a very important part of this team, and I would never put it past him if you guys wanted to give him player of the year for the Chicago Bulls. But in my opinion, if you can't pick Zach Levine for this award, there's just simply no other award you can give it to. You can give it to him. Simple as that. When it comes to Zach Levine, it's as simple as this. He's an all-star. He had his best season once again. He's improved from last season to this season. He's brought his shooting efficiency up. He's brought his playmaking up. He's brought his on-ball defense up. In the end, it's not perfect. In the end, Zach Levine is not the perfect player, but he is our player of the year. He is our best player. He's been doing it all year for this team. He's done so many great things. He's put us in so many exciting moments. And again, there's been a lot of failures. But again, I'm sorry to say this, and many people might not agree with this, but if you look at any other team in the NBA, even some of the best teams, James Harden and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and looking at the Lakers side, LeBron and AD, looking at any team, their best players have been through failures in their career before and have been through failures throughout the course of their season, in this season in itself, and they will continue to do so in the NBA playoffs. Some of those players will have to go through failures. Zach Levine has went through some failures this year in terms of some clutch situations and in terms of even in some games his efficiency. But that is what being a good player is. It's about learning from those failures, taking responsibility, being accountable for all of those situations, and coming back each and every season a better version of yourself. That is exactly what Zach Levine is. That is the definition of Zach Levine throughout the whole of his career. And again, I'm excited to see what he can do next season, if he can elevate his game even more to than what it was this season. And if he can do that, the Chicago Bulls should be just fine next season. And that is the Chicago Bulls annual awards that I'm going to give out today. This is the official last video. I'll be talking about the regular season on its own. Again, we'll be talking more about off-season, individual players. We'll be talking a little bit about the NBA playoffs if need be. And again, that's going to be the end of this Chicago Bulls season, in my opinion. This is the last video that will be happening in terms of that on its own. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the season. I don't think it's been a terrible season. Again, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, but again, it's been an experimental season. We've had a lot of exciting moments. We've had some disappointing moments. And again, this video reflects that. This video also will be hopefully one that we can continue doing throughout the course of many seasons, and hopefully we can do this with maybe some playoff games added into it, maybe even a championship. In 5 years down the line, if I'm still doing these types of videos, we might have some championships to talk about. Who knows? Again, never say never in this league. But have a wonderful and safe day. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Take care and peace.